Welcome back. We have another excerpt from Nowhere Girls. And in this scene, Rachel is having a conversation with Miss Coates, who is the director of the home, and trying to explain to her that she doesn't want to give up the baby. She, at this point in the novel, believes that Eb is going to come and rescue her and marry her. But obviously, she hasn't told Miss Coates or whatever. She can't tell them that because they wouldn't allow it. So she just says she doesn't want to give up the baby. Miss Coates is sitting at the desk. She waves at me to sit down. Her hair is pulled back, except for a few gray strands which fly up from the smooth line of her part. There must be something about gray hair that makes it hard to control. She has the same dark lipstick on. I've never really spoken to Miss Coates, but I like her. I see her in the halls, walking to her office, or leaving the home, going to a meeting somewhere. She always nods, and sometimes she smiles. And when she does, she smiles like she's glad to see you in particular, not the tired, easy smile of Miss Kittery. I remember that she knew my name, too, that time Nancy cried over wearing makeup and she sent me upstairs with her. How are you? She says. Are you feeling all right? I sit forward a little and try to make myself hiccup. It's just heartburn. Well, that does happen. She opens a drawer in her desk. Would you like some Tums? Oh, yes. I always keep some in my desk if you need it. It seems like every girl has it pretty bad at one time or another. I dig out a white lozenge from the roll she hands me and chew on it, wondering if she's blaming me, maybe if she thinks I brought this on myself. The baby is never just the baby. It's all of you. It's your stomach, your head, the veins in your leg. It can't be separated. Remember that. Let's see, she says. My file is on her desk, but it's closed and she leaves it that way. You have about 2 months left, don't you? Yes, it's a little more, actually. And Dr. Rank has reported that, in spite of his discussions with you on the subject, you don't believe that giving up the baby is in your best interest. I don't want to give it up. I want to keep it. I look down at the rug and inch my feet closer together, lining them up, wondering how best to defend myself. Well, Miss Coates pushes back slightly in her chair, settling her arms against the edge of her desk and folding her hands. Tell me your concerns then, Rachel. Concerns? Why don't you want to give up the baby? Because it's my baby? A stupid answer. Think of something better. My face is hot, my mind blank. When you arrived here, you were at least agreeable to the idea, weren't you? Yes. But now you're not. I've been thinking. Everything I said to Dr. Rank and Miss Kittery has unraveled and fled. Arguments, important sounding words. Out the window, I see the empty street, sunlit. Miss Coates has turned her head slightly, still holding her hands together. You remind me, Rachel, of, well, a certain type of girl. Yes? One I haven't seen much of in a while. A long time ago, by your standards. Half her mouth journeys towards a smile. When I first started out as a social worker, the focus of the work was on preparing unwed girls for eventual motherhood. The home was meant to provide a place of refuge, but also to help girls learn to care for their babies. Of course, it was also true that in those days it was harder to find adoptive parents. We had to assume many of the girls would end up keeping their babies. Didn't they want to keep them? Down the hall, someone is playing records. I can just barely make out the guitar chords of House of the Rising Sun dissolving one into another. Yes, I think they did, she pauses, after the usual period of adjustment. We had them sew their own layettes, for instance, and most of them enjoyed that. It got them looking forward to the baby. Those old sewing machines in the schoolroom. Even if they did want to give up their babies, they were allowed to bring the baby home with them and spend a few weeks together. It gave them a chance to say goodbye. How come you don't do that anymore? Well, her mouth turns down a little. Things have changed a great deal since then. It's become easier to adopt. There are more potential parents. We've done a good job with that. But didn't the girls still want... Before I can finish the sentence, Miss Coate goes on. And as well as intentioned as we were in those days, it was rather unscientific. It wasn't psychologically helpful, I think, for some girls to bring their babies home and then to have to give them up. It might have been easier for them to give the baby up at the hospital. But didn't they still want? I stop in confusion. I'm not sure she meant to run me over. Miss Coates is sitting up, reaching for something on the desk. I think what we have today, Rachel, is the best solution for everyone. I could check our records, but in the past few years, I can only recall one or two girls who went home with their babies. I don't think most of the girls today want to keep them. They want to be able to go back to their normal lives, like Kathy. But I don't think you can go back to a normal life. I pause a minute, afraid she might interrupt me again. I don't think anyone could have a normal life after this. I think there has to be an accounting somewhere, don't you? Dealing with your past, Rachel, in a healthy manner means moving forward. I push my fist along the bottom of my chest. The Tums is working, but there's still a knot there. Something I haven't even thought of leaps from my mouth. But Miss Coates, if I knew what was going to happen to the baby, if I knew who was going to get him, we can't tell you that. Her voice is closed, professional now. We can't ever tell you that. But it can't be right. It can't be right to keep it secret all the time, both me and him. You keep talking about things like freedom and responsibility, and you want me to do something dishonest. It doesn't have to be dishonest, Rachel. You can tell whomever you like about the baby in the future. You will simply have to deal with the consequences. I remember with sudden relief that none of this is real, that Eb is coming for me. But it can't be right. It can't ever be right. Rachel, Coates's voice is less patient now. This is something you will have to work out for yourself. You can discuss it with Dr. Rank. Life is not always easy. I know. I don't know. I know that people have been saying that to me all my life. And what does it mean, really? Because wasn't it promised, actually, that life would be easy? That everything could be unraveled, explained? That any problem could be solved with good intentions and honesty? Maybe not when the answer is something you don't want to hear. What I ask you to think about now, Rachel, is that every day I get calls on that phone, she points at it with her pen, from all over the country. I have to turn away girls who are desperate for a place to go to avoid disgrace and ruin. In the face of that, I can't see allowing someone to stay who makes a point of being so independent of our aims here. Joanne was right then. They are kicking me out. But I need a chance to call Eb my mother. Rachel, under other circumstances, I would be much more lenient. In my experience, girls like you often change their minds. I'm only half listening, the knot still in my chest. How soon? I'll have to call Eb again. He'll have to. But last night I received a phone call from a man who lives quite far away, back east actually, and is absolutely desperate for a place for his daughter. She has already made a suicide attempt and was just barely resuscitated in time. He wants to fly her here cross country immediately. I had to tell him that presently we had no room. But Sandy's replacement has already been notified to come. She's been on our waiting list. Admitting this girl is technically not fair to the others on the list. But in this case, I think I would be justified in breaking the rules. But I have to talk to, of course, Miss Coates said, of course, Rachel. If you want my advice, be honest with your mother. I think she'll understand. But how long? When should she? I'll leave that to you. I don't want you to feel that you are being dismissed. Later, these things will come back to me in the darkness, dismissed, and the rich girl who tried to kill herself, and I will think of things I should have said. But now what can I say to Miss Coates? So calm, no makeup, no nail polish. Me, just one of so many girls in so many years, mouthing the same words, disappointed in the same way, crying over the same old things in her office. I've always had a rule that no girl ever leaves here if she doesn't have a place to go. I have a place to go. I do. But how soon can Eb come? Not until this weekend because of school. Today's Wednesday. He's supposed to call me tomorrow afternoon. Maybe I can actually call Mom, explain that Eb is going to marry me. But I don't trust her. Too many things could go wrong. I leave Miss Coates's office, shutting the door quietly. The heartburn is still biting, and I go into the bathroom and run some water in a Dixie cup, standing there in the half dark without the light on. House of the Rising Sun is on again. vibrating through the wall. It must be the song. I think you could be thinking about shoe shine while the House of the Rising Sun is on, and it would seem like the most important thing in the world. It's like a scene from a movie, the water cold, gritty, the pressure in my chest, the baby floating up like he sometimes does, like something unfolding. Nothing is me is separate from the baby. Remember that. I have to call Eb, and this makes me crunch the cup into a small ball. But he'll have to come now.